Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and it's flying in thick and fast now. We've got another Celtic transfer talk to do. Yesterday we sat down and spoke about McGree, who could be signing the Australian international. That looks closer to being finished. We'll speak about that a little bit, but today we've got more news that Celtic are being linked with yet another international player, a player that we might not know a lot about. Honestly, this is the wildest January transfer window I've ever seen for Celtic. Names being linked with the club left, right and centre, wheeling and dealing. We're looking to bring players into the club and get deals over the line. It's something that is out of a dream for Celtic. We never see this, but here we are. An exciting January transfer window nonetheless. Right, you'll notice I'm sitting here in the working uniform. The Tesco polo shirt is on. We mean business. I don't ever do this, but today I had to do it. It's been a whirlwind of a day. I'm actually making this video at 5 to 5. I start work at 6 o'clock. I am all over the place, literally pushing out whatever I can here. I'm trying my hardest with such a busy day. So yeah, please support me by hitting the big red subscribe button below. It would be much appreciated. Ignore the Tesco polo shirt and let's get on with this. So along with the Celtic transfer talk, I just kind of want to give a bit of opinion. I like doing these opinion videos where I just speak my mind at times and I just title it something kind of like, you know, I done that one about Kyogo a couple of months ago when people were calling him a cheater and all the rest of it. I want to kind of sit in, I think I might do a video more on this. I want to talk about the CEO for a moment. I want to talk about Michael Nicholson before we start talking about transfers. What's going on? What is happening at Celtic Football Club? Why are we going out and spending all this money at the moment? Why are we going out and making all these signings? It's not very Celtic of us. I'm not complaining, but I want reasons. How is this happening? Michael Nicholson, step up, son. We all doubted you. And we all had this sort of vibe that you were going to be a puppet, a yes man, and we're going to just be in the same direction. We always are, but here we are in the January transfer window, already 4 signings deep, I should say, with Johnny Kenny coming in. We also look as though we're about to finalise the signing of McGree to make that a 5th signing. We're hearing rumours about other players that we're looking at and options around for Ange Postecoglou. And it's just very, very weird because we don't usually get this. Now, the one point that I wanted to make when we're talking about Nicholson, look, it's very easy to jump to conclusions and everybody will be giving opinions, oh, he's the best and this, that, the next thing. I think we've all got to be very cautious. At the end of the day, I don't want to sit down and be a bored bootlicker. It's one thing on this channel I've tried my best not to be, and they've never gave me really a reason for it. But, you know, in this situation, you know, we are off the back of that whole Bernard Higgins situation where the board still have a lot of unanswered questions, and I think Nicholson will obviously be a part of that. They really didn't address it well at the AGM either. There's still a lot of making up to do in that ground, but in regards to transfers and dealings right now, I think he's started in great stead. It's all about carrying that on though. You know, it's all very well and good to get carried away with a one transfer window. We want that to carry on now over the next few years. We want to see Ange Postecoglou backed as much as possible, and I know that other club supporters might have things to say about the signings we're making, or they're Japanese players, they're Australian players, they're Iranian players, these are nobodies. You know, that opinion's very easy to give across when you're not a Celtic fan, but I think the key part is, and the main thing is, that we are getting backed now. The manager's being backed, we're getting signings, and these are guys that the manager wants. Let's be clear about that. These aren't, you know, James McCarthy type signings where you're wondering, right, okay, was that the manager that brought him in? No, these are signings that are clear to see are Ange Postecoglou signings. These are players he wants. It's not about who these guys are, it's about what the manager's now getting. And his wishes are being fulfilled. You know, we're backing the man in charge, and that's Ange Postecoglou, and thank God we are. Him getting Hatate, Ideguchi, Maida, and now maybe McGree as well, is of obviously signings that Ange Postecoglou wants and he is getting. And that's the important factor of this, not who they are, it's about backing the man himself there. So I'm very happy. Nicholson is starting off in good stead with that sort of front, and hopefully we build on that. Hopefully we go into every transfer window with the same sort of optimism now, and hopefully the same results. When we need to improve in areas, hopefully we do so. We've got the money there at the moment, and we're utilising that to hopefully our strengths. We don't know what any of these guys are going to be like coming into the club, but hopefully they're good signings. But I'm buzzing at the moment. It's exciting waking up every day and seeing new transfer news, which leads me on to today's topic. It was reported this morning by an Iranian journalist that Celtic have made a bid for Mehdi Ghayedi. I'm not too sure on the pronunciation. Once again, need to go and look it up and make sure I'm getting it right, but I'm going to go with Mehdi Ghayedi. Turned down by Shabab Al Ali, a club in the United Arab Emirates. He was, I believe, the Iranian Young Player of the Year, and a player that Celtic have been keeping an eye on, which makes sense because if you remember, a couple of months ago on this channel, we done a back pages video, and one of the things we looked at in the back pages was the scouting department and Ange Postecoglou's quotes in the scouting department. Now, if I had the time and editing, I would go back and retrieve the exact clip of me saying this, but there was a clip in that video where I spoke from it, and there was a sort of bit in the record, I believe it was. It might have been the Express. And it was Ange Postecoglou talking about areas he wanted to scout. We were looking at Japan, Australia, all the rest of it. And he said, it's not just those countries. There's players in South America. There's players in China. There's players in Iran. You know, he already kind of alluded to it. And this now could be us seeing us dip into that sort of market. It's one of these stories I feel like you've got to be a little bit cautious with. It's one that could be easily made up, easily sort of fabricated for clicks or for any sort of media attraction. But, you know, when you look at it kind of adding up with those quotes a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, I should say, sorry, it does kind of make a little sense. But it is, once again, one of those players we know nothing about. The guy who did report this story had less than 200 followers this morning. It could be easily nonsense, but it seems to be a accredited journalist. And hopefully there is some truth to it while I'm reporting on it here. But once again, it's a player we know nothing about. So the news agency reported it claims there are 3 players in Iran that Ange Postecoglou is looking at and there's been interest in, and the guy here, Mehdi Ghayedi, seems to be one of the guys. Once again, I know I'm butchering that pronunciation, I know I am, but it's not a nation that I'm usually delving into when it comes to pronunciation. I'm used to having the European names, the Germans, the Italians, etc., not usually Iranian. But apparently he is someone who has caught the eye of Postecoglou, 22 or 23, I think now, years old, 8 Iranian caps, young player of the year in the league before moving to the United Arab Emirates this summer. He's only signed a 5-year deal at his current club, and hasn't played too much football there, but is apparently interested by Celtic in him. I think one of the interesting things about this is, and one of the things that now starts to raise a question, is he's another left-sided player. A left-sided player who can also play, apparently, in behind the striker. Those are his 2 main positions. And this is an area that we seem to be building a lot of depth in already, so it does raise the question, how much, you know, of a necessity is it to bring more in now? We're bringing in Jota, for example, what looks to be, that's advancing. That's one thing I didn't touch on at all when talking about Nicholson and all this money being spent. But Jota, he's on that left-hand side. We've brought in Maida, who can play in behind the striker, who can also play in the left. You're looking at, you know, the talks in Hannes Wolf. We were talking about McGree. These are players who can play in behind the striker as well. It seems like we are opening up our options in that area. So is this another one that's credible enough to say is an option here to be coming into the club this season? 14 appearances in all competitions, 4 goals and an assist, mostly from the left wing. He seems to be quite a talented player. At 5'5", you'd imagine is probably quite a nippy wee player with a bit of pace, and that's something that, of course, we know Ange Postecoglou likes. We've seen a lot of his signings come in being sort of smaller in stature, bringing that pace, that press, and this seems to be another player that fits that sort of mould. I've only seen a few clips of him, as I said. It looks as though it'll be a bit of a trickster, pacey player, kind of similar to Jota in that sense. And someone who is being, apparently, the quote is, we're determined to sign him. That seems to be it, determined. So, don't know, we'll wait and see. I'd imagine with a 5-year deal being signed at his most recent club, there is going to be obviously a little bit of talks and a little bit of things to iron out. And it makes it a little more difficult in terms of money, because, you know, he's just moved there. The club will probably want as much as they can get for him, but it does raise the question of how much money is that, because it is the United Arab Emirates, and with no disrespect to that league and that division and football in particular, we don't know how many players, we don't know of many players who have actually came from that league, and especially for fees that are quite large. So, you know, how much money is that? So we can only wait and see. But yeah, another player being linked with Celtic in an exciting January transfer window thus far. That'll do it for today. I've had to kind of rush through. It's been an absolute whirlwind of a day. It's been hectic. I've been all over the place. So apologies if it has felt kind of rushed or the information hasn't been quite there. I think this is one guy that even the top journalists in this country will be struggling to know an awful lot about. They'll be out trying to get all contacts from all corners of the world to try and find out about more about this guy, and hopefully if Celtic do come closer to signing the likes of him, we do learn more about him on this channel, and I'll have as much to give you as possible. But it's one of those ones. What is my famous words that I always turn to when it comes to transfer news? Take it with a pinch of salt. I'm just here to report on what I'm seeing and give my opinion. That's what this channel's all about. Right, like and subscribe if you've enjoyed. I'll see you all next time.